Most investors think that earning around 10% per year in the stock market is incredible, and honestly, it is. Historically, that's enough to build some serious wealth over time if you stay consistent. But here's what almost nobody talks about. Over the last decade, there were ETFs quietly compounding at 18, 20, even over 30% per year. Not crypto, not penny stocks, and not any risky option strategies. Just simple ETFs anyone could have bought inside a regular brokerage account. And the difference those returns create over time is massive. Because if two people invest the exact same amount of money every month, but one compounds at 10 to 15%, while the other compounds at 20% or more, they do not end up in remotely the same financial situation. One builds wealth, the other potentially reaches financial freedom years earlier. And most investors never even realize how big that gap becomes until decades have already passed. So in this video, we're starting with the S&P 500 as the benchmark, and then counting down 7 ETFs that actually outperformed it over the last decade. But there's a catch. As the returns go up, so does the concentration, the volatility, and the emotional difficulty of actually holding these funds when markets get ugly. And trust me, some of these get very uncomfortable very fast. Hi, I'm Greg Hardy, and welcome back to the channel, and thank you for being here. We cover all things personal finance, investing, and building a secure financial future. So if you're serious about taking control of your money and also learning something new every week, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. It really helps the channel out and gets this information to more people who need it. Thank you. Before we get into the ETFs that beat the market, we first need to establish the benchmark. SPYM tracks the S&P 500. 500 of the largest companies in America. And honestly, for most investors, this alone is already an excellent long-term investment strategy. Inside the fund, you own companies like Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Broadcom. Businesses that have helped drive much of the modern economy over the last decade. And during that time, the S&P 500 produced roughly 15% annualized returns in one of the strongest bull markets in history. That's an incredible result for a low-cost, passive investment that requires almost no maintenance from investors. And one of the biggest reasons the S&P 500 works so well long-term is because the index constantly evolves. Companies that stop performing eventually get replaced by stronger companies, meaning you automatically continue owning many of the market's biggest winners without needing to predict them yourself. That's what makes the S&P 500 so powerful for long-term investors. But here's where things get interesting. Several ETFs actually outperformed the S&P 500 over that exact same period. Some by little, and some by an absolutely ridiculous amount. So let's count them down. Number 7, SCHG. And this is where things begin leaning more aggressively towards growth investing. Instead of owning the entire S&P 500, SCHG focuses heavily on large American companies expected to grow earnings faster than the broader market. So naturally, the portfolio becomes more concentrated in companies like Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Broadcom. Most investors don't realize this, but over the last decade, growth stocks massively outperformed value stocks. And that's a huge reason many investors started shifting more heavily towards growth-focused portfolios over the last several years. And SCHG benefited enormously from that environment. Over the last 10 years, SCHG has averaged roughly 16 to 17% annualized returns, outperforming the broader market while still remaining relatively diversified compared to what's coming later on in this list. And psychologically, this is where many investors begin feeling tempted to take on more concentration. Because once investors see they can potentially outperform the market with a growth tilt, it becomes harder to stay satisfied with average market returns. Number 6, IWY. Now this is where things start getting more concentrated. IWY focuses on the largest growth companies in America, specifically the Russell Top 200 Growth Index. This means you're getting an even heavier allocation towards mega-cap growth companies dominating the modern economy. And this ETF benefited enormously from the rise of AI, cloud computing, semiconductors, and software over the last decade. The top holdings look very familiar: Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta, but the weighting becomes more aggressive. The biggest winners matter more here, and over the last decade, that ended up being a very powerful place to be. That concentration helped drive roughly 19% annualized returns during that time frame. But this is also where investors need to understand something important. Concentration works incredibly well until leadership changes. Because when markets rotate away from growth stocks, funds like IWY can become much more volatile than something like the S&P 500. Most investors think they can emotionally handle that kind of volatility until they actually experience it during a bad market. Number 5, SPMO. This is where the rankings stop looking like traditional index funds because SPMO doesn't simply own companies based on size, it chases momentum. And momentum investing is one of the most fascinating concepts in investing because historically, stocks that have been outperforming often continue outperforming for periods of time. SPMO constantly filters the S&P 500 down to companies showing the strongest upward price momentum. In other words, it leans heavily into the market's current winners. And over the last decade, that strategy worked extremely well. SPMO produced roughly 20% annualized returns, significantly outperforming the regular S&P 500. But there's a trade-off. This is not a traditional buy and hold index strategy. SPMO is constantly adapting to where market strength is actually happening. And historically, that ability to lean into leadership trends has been incredibly powerful during strong market environments. Number 4, QQQM. Now we get into one of the most recognizable growth ETFs on the planet. QQQM tracks the NASDAQ 100, essentially 100 of the largest non-financial companies listed on the NASDAQ exchange. In practice, this means heavy exposure to tech and innovation-driven businesses, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, Alphabet, the companies that are reshaping entire industries. And over the last decade, that concentration produced enormous returns. QQQM averaged roughly 21% annualized returns over 10 years. Now here's what most investors don't realize. QQQM is not truly diversified in the way that many people think it is. A huge percentage of this ETF is concentrated in a relatively small number of tech-driven companies, and when those companies struggle, the ETF can fall very hard. In 2022, growth-heavy funds like QQQM experienced brutal drawdowns. But here's the argument growth investors make. Technology is no longer just a sector. Because whether people realize it or not, many of the companies inside QQQM are now deeply embedded into everyday life. Technology has become the infrastructure layer of the global economy. Healthcare increasingly runs on software. Finance runs on software. Manufacturing runs on software. Communication runs on software. And QQQM is essentially a concentrated bet on the companies building that infrastructure. Number 3, XLK. Most people think that QQQM is a pure tech ETF. It really isn't. XLK gets much closer to that idea. This ETF focuses specifically on the tech sector, and because of that, it becomes extremely concentrated in some of the largest tech companies on Earth. Companies like Microsoft, Nvidia, and Apple. Those companies dominate this fund, and when those companies started dominating the market, XLK benefited enormously. And that concentration is a huge reason why XLK performed so well over the last decade. Because when a relatively small number of tech companies become responsible for driving a massive percentage of the market's gains, concentrated funds like this can accelerate very quickly. And over the last decade, that's exactly what happened. Cloud computing exploded, AI exploded, software, semiconductors, and digital infrastructure became deeply embedded to almost every part of modern life. And XLK sat directly in the middle of it. That helped drive roughly 22 to 24% annualized returns over the last decade, significantly outperforming the S&P 500 over that same time period. But this is also where diversification starts shrinking very quickly, because the higher up this ranking we go, the more dependent these ETFs become on a relatively small number of companies continuing to dominate the economy. And that's the trade-off investors need to understand. Higher returns often come from greater concentration. And greater concentration usually means greater volatility once markets get rough. Number 2, VGT. If XLK is concentrated technology, VGT is even more aggressive. VGT holds hundreds of tech companies across software, hardware, semiconductors, and IT infrastructure. It's essentially a broader and more aggressive bet on the digital economy itself. Historically, that bet has been incredibly rewarding. For the last decade, VGT produced roughly 24 to 25% annualized returns. That's extraordinary. Most investors don't fully appreciate how dominant tech became during the last decade, and VGT captured nearly all of it. Artificial intelligence, cloud computing, cybersecurity, data centers, semiconductors, enterprise software. Nearly every major technological trend of the last decade flowed through this ETF in some form. VGT became one of the biggest beneficiaries of the world becoming increasingly digital. But once again, the volatility is real. The ETF can experience massive swings during bear markets because tech stocks tend to get hit especially hard when interest rates rise or investor sentiment changes. But the ETF at the top of this list completely separates itself from everything else we've talked about so far. Number 1, SMH. And honestly, this ETF almost doesn't look real when you study the long-term numbers. SMH focuses specifically on semiconductors, the companies building the physical chips powering modern technology. And this is important. Every AI model, every cloud data center, every smartphone, electric vehicle, advanced defense system, every modern computing platform ultimately depends on semiconductors. Without chips, none of the modern technology functions. That's why semiconductors became one of the most important industries in the world over the last decade, and SMH sits directly in the middle of that trend. In many ways, semiconductors became the modern-day gold rush of the digital economy. SMH's holdings include NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductor, ASML, Broadcom, and AMD, companies sitting at the critical bottlenecks in the global tech supply chain. And the performance has been astonishing. Over the last decade, SMH produced roughly 34% annualized returns. Think about how insane that actually is. At that rate of return, money compounds incredibly fast. But this is also the most volatile ETF on the entire list. SMH can experience brutal drawdowns because semiconductors are highly cyclical. When demand slows or the industry hits a downturn, these stocks can fall extremely hard. This is absolutely not the right core holding for most investors. But for long-term investors willing to tolerate volatility, semiconductors have historically been one of the most powerful investment themes of the modern era. And when you step back and look at this entire list, a pattern becomes very clear. The ETFs with the highest returns became increasingly concentrated in fewer parts of the market. The further we moved away from the S&P 500, the more heavily these funds leaned into growth, tech, momentum, and semiconductors. And honestly, that makes sense. Because over the last decade, a relatively small number of companies drove massive percentages of the market's gains. Think about companies like NVIDIA and Microsoft, Apple, Broadcom, Amazon, and Meta. These companies didn't just outperform the market, in many ways they became the market. But this is also where investors need to be careful, because the same concentration that creates massive upside can also create brutal downside once market leadership changes. The ETFs at the top of this list produced incredible returns, but they also became much harder to emotionally hold during rough markets. And that's the balancing act every investor has to figure out for themselves. How much volatility are you truly willing to tolerate in exchange for potentially higher long-term returns? It's very easy to say that you want higher returns until you actually experience the downside that often comes with them. Because chasing performance is easy during bull markets. Holding through the inevitable downturns is where investing gets much harder. And honestly, one of the biggest mistakes investors make is assuming the best performing ETF automatically becomes the best ETF for them personally. Because the truth is, most people don't actually fail at investing because they picked bad investments. They fail because they picked investments they emotionally couldn't stick with once markets got rough. It's easy to feel aggressive and confident during bull markets when everything is going up. But when a portfolio suddenly drops 25%, 35%, or even 50%, that's when investors find out what their real risk tolerance actually is. And that's why long-term investing is just as psychological as it is financial. The best portfolio isn't necessarily the one with the highest historical return. It's the one that you can consistently hold through both good markets and bad ones without panicking and abandoning the strategy. In the long run, consistency and time are still the two biggest drivers of long-term wealth. Because in the end, the investors who usually win long-term aren't the ones constantly chasing the next hot investment. They're the ones who can consistently stay invested when things get difficult. So I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments. Which ETF on this list would you personally feel comfortable holding long-term? And if you had to choose just one, which one would it be? If you found this video eye-opening, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. And if you want more practical, no-nonsense advice on building wealth and securing your financial future, then check out this video here. And also, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.